Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine, the show with the information to improve your life. What's in store for you today? The answers on the economy, as the country experiences growth in several sectors, increasing employment and wealth creation. Also, the operation of the stock exchange affects your everyday expenses. See how? Please stay with us as we seek the right answers to our country's development needs.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean.
The economy is improving. International companies have also realized that our little rock is on the path to growth. So much so that investors are coming. This week on Issues and Answers, co-chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, Richard Biles, explains it all. He sat down with Ian Boyne recently, and we bring you that discussion next.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we talk the economy, critical issues of the economy. We have the chairman of the Economic Oversight Committee that is responsible for monitoring the IMF program, Mr. Richard Biles. He will talk to us about the importance of the government's economic reform program, why we need to meet those macroeconomic targets. Thank you so much for your company. Good to have you on the program.
My pleasure.
Mr. Biles. People wonder sometimes about these macroeconomic targets that you speak about on a monthly basis. And they wonder how that relates to their everyday life. Why is it necessary that these macroeconomic targets are met?
Ian, can I just step back a minute and say, let's think of somebody who is sick. They don't pay attention to it. They go on month by month, year by year, and eventually they get to the point where they can't go on anymore. They're in the hospital. Doctors diagnose them, put them in intensive care, tell them that they have cancer, have to undergo several surgeries, have to do chemotherapy. The economy in 2013 was similar to that. For years and years, we were managing the economy in a way that ignored this cancer that was building in us. And what is that cancer? That cancer is the debt to GDP. We were contracting more and more debt to the point where we couldn't even pay off the debt we had without borrowing more debt to pay it off. So the debt just kept building to the point where eventually lenders said, stop, I'm not prepared to lend you anymore. What another illness, and that was the illness to import. Didn't want anything local, everything had to be imported. So this appetite to import meant that we had to have foreign exchange. And so we were not just, government wasn't just borrowing Jamaican dollars to feed its appetite, but also found it had to borrow US dollars to sell to the public so that the public could feed its appetite for imports. Couldn't go on. Our reserves fell to 800 million US. Not sufficient to carry the country for the minimum of 4 months imports. So we were at a crisis in 2013. So just like the patient who went into the hospital, Jamaica had to go to the IMF program. And the IMF really has done what the doctors would do to that patient. Ran the MRI, ran the CT scan, took the blood pressure, took the blood, analyzed the blood, all of those things. Those are the macroeconomic indicators. So the same way that a doctor would look on a CT scan and say, I think things are coming on or not doing so well, that's what the macroeconomic indicator does for us. A little bit more. Sometimes a patient can be recuperating, because when they run those tests, they see that internally you are getting better. But what you see on the outside, the chemo make your hair drop out, because you're in bed, you get a little weak and you lose some weight, maybe your skin color. Those are the things that we're looking on in the economy and saying, my gosh, this program is not working. But that doctor knows that when he runs the tests, he knows what's happening inside, and that's what the macroeconomic indicators say to us. And today, every one of them is positive.
Every one?
Every one of them is positive. Jamaicans don't like to accept success sometimes. I think we're too accustomed to failure, accustomed to not being able to make it, especially with the economy. But today, debt to GDP is better, current account deficit is better, inflation is lower, employment is better. So everything that you can factually assess the economy on is better. Yet, some people will say they are not feeling it. It's interesting, because if you talk to somebody who lives somewhere between Ocherius and Negril, they will tell you the family they have or the friends they have that work in the hotel industry, hotels are 80% occupied. Everybody has a job. The family that they have or the friends that are in the business process, outsourcing business, 18,000 of them are employed. So if you live on that strip, you have a different outlook on what is happening. Hotels are being built. 2,000 rooms were refurbished and are now open in that period, in that place of Ocherius to Negril. 2,500 are under construction today. So people in that area see it, and even if their circumstances not what they would like it to be, they can see that something is happening. Come down to Kingston, South Coast, not so evident, because this is a part of the economy that is more focused on the domestic buying and selling. Tourism is the global market. Down here we're dealing with the buying and selling, which took the brunt of the punch from devaluation, the brunt of the punch from higher taxation. I would say though that just recently, meaning the last quarter, maybe the last 2 quarters last year, you have seen a pickup. Purchasing power has returned somewhat. Why? Oil prices have fallen, so the electricity cost is a little less. Your gas pump price is a little less. Maybe people got back pay, as in the civil service. But in the last quarter, every businessman that I speak to tells me it was their best quarter in years. And I believe when those GDP numbers come out, you will see that that quarter was a strong quarter. The Chamber of Commerce Business Confidence Index and Consumer Confidence Index up and up strongly. So there's a kind of dichotomy in the economy. But I think even in this Kingston area, people are beginning to see some small green shoots that the economic program that we're on is producing some results.
A fascinating fact-based overview of the Jamaican economy by the chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, Richard Biles. He has more to tell us when we come back from our break.
High levels of debt eliminate a capital budget, which is essential for growth.
And that is why the government is trying to reduce the debt so that more money is available to do things like fixing roads, improving hospitals, developing the education system, and providing other amenities needed for social upliftment. The government's economic reform program is reaping results. The debt is going down.
What is good about the program is that the debt to GDP that stood at 149.4% has declined to 139.2% at the end of 2013-2014.
That means for every dollar of goods we produce, we used to owe $1.49, and now it's $1.39. The goal is to have a debt to GDP ratio of between 95 and 100% by 2020 and 60% by 2025 to 2026.
We're talking the economy on Issues and Answers. We have with us the chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee. That's the committee that's responsible for monitoring the IMF program, Mr. Richard Biles. Mr. Biles, is the private sector investing in a kind of way that shows recognition of the facts that you have told us about to this improvement in the economy, the improving patient?
I think more and more so, Ian, yes. If you speak to manufacturers, they will tell you that they are investing. And so I'd say yes, the confidence has come back pretty strongly in recent times. And I think I was at a dinner last night with about a dozen major corporate heads, and to a man, they were very positive about the economy and the opportunities that they saw. So, and I think there is more that can be done. I think that the government can do more to encourage investment. I think, for example, in the tourism business, here is a market that we've been in from the 50s, right? So 65 years we're in this market. We have a great reputation, a little tarnished here and there, but generally speaking, Jamaica has good cachet. More and more our tourist business is being owned by foreigners. Where are the Jamaican businessmen, the corporate entities in this industry? We need more, and I think that the government can do more to introduce and usher Jamaican business people into that area. There may be reasons why they are shy to go in, but 4 years ago we didn't run a hotel. Today we have 5 hotels and we have 2,000 rooms.
It's your company?
Yes, and we're doing very well with it. So there's no rocket science involved in it. It takes some application and talent, but it can be done. You know. So I'd like to see government do more in encouraging investment in that direction.
Yeah. Well, the Minister of Tourism was here recently, and he was saying that. He said that Jamaicans should not wait until after this boom to say, how come we were left out of it? And he was encouraging local investors to get involved and to invest, just like how you have invested. He mentioned that Sagicor has invested. Mr. Biles, the connection between people's need to have proper health facilities, educational access, proper roads, the connection between that and what is happening in the economy. Make that connection for us.
Okay, so because we have to pay down this debt, we have to run this massive primary surplus. The other day when Greece was in turmoil, they were being asked to run 3.5% primary surplus. We run 7.5% and have done so for 3 years. As we start to pay down that debt and the debt declines, you get a little bit more room to spend on issues like education, health, roads. So it depends on how quickly we can get that debt to GDP down. It goes down fast if we can get the GDP to grow faster.
That's right.
But it's a bit of a circular problem because for the GDP to grow faster, not only are businessmen required to invest, but the government should be able to invest too.
Some stimulus.
Right. So it's a balancing game. What we're faced with is a curve that is kind of long and not steeply sloping. And that is a curve of growth. It takes years for us to get up to the 4%, 5%, because the government has to pay so much into debt reduction.
Yes. But what seems clear though, doesn't it, is that the ways that we were operating were just not sustainable. Running up deficits and so on, that's not on.
Right, not sustainable at all. And I mean, in the Caribbean, there are some interesting cases, other countries coming up, countries that were considered to be, very strong and very successful. Yes. And they find themselves in that position where they're spending more than they're earning. They have these deficits and they're going downhill. S&P has downgraded many of them and upgraded Jamaica. Right. So if we don't believe what we Jamaicans say about the economy, do we believe what foreigners say about our economy, and they say it with the S&P rating. We are now a B stable, coming from junk, absolute junk, and foreign investors are putting their money in this country. You know that I have a connection to Red Stripe. That investment that Heineken has made is so significant. They had 15% of Red Stripe. If they didn't have confidence in this country, what would they have done? They would have sold that 15%. There are people that are prepared to buy it. Instead, they made an offer to buy 85% to have 100%. In doing so, they are spending $720 million US on this country. 720 million US, you know. You know how many hotel rooms that is? That's like 6,000 hotel rooms, one investor. So that is a vote of confidence in this country that you can take 720 million. Even if you're a Heineken, 720 million mean a lot.
Yes.
That decision wasn't taken lightly. They had to look on the country and say, is it going in the right direction? Is this a basket case, or is this a country that has a future? Because it's not just Red Stripe, you know, it's also the country.
So that people who look lightly at the IMF seal of approval of our, look at our having the best performing stock market last year and said, sure, those things don't mean anything. They just don't know what they're saying. It means a lot.
Yeah, you know, sometimes we form opinions without facts, or when the facts support the opinion we have already, we love the facts. But when they don't support the opinion we have, we disregard it. Right? And that really is a little intellectual dishonesty. To be able to look on the facts and make an objective assessment of it is a hallmark of our intellect.
People are worried, though, about the dollar.
Yes.
That's gone to 121 now. How do you address that?
Okay, so why does the dollar move? The dollar moves for two reasons. Fundamentally, and number one, when we have inflation, as we had last year, of about 4%, and the United States has inflation of about 1% or less, closer to half, in fact, our goods all of a sudden are more expensive by the difference. Right? So we have to fix that gap if we want to stay competitive. If you ignore it, and then the following year it develops again, and the gap grows more and more, after a while you find that our goods are just not as competitive. So you have to always close up that gap between US inflation and Jamaican inflation. And that is what devaluation does for us. The fact that we have got inflation down to 4% or less is a good thing, because it means that the devaluation going forward is small. The other thing that impacts devaluation is the demand and supply for currency. If people have confidence in Jamaica and the Jamaican currency, then they don't demand the US dollar to store their savings. If they don't have as much confidence, then they demand it, and in doing so, they drive the price of the currency somewhat. So it's a bit of the market, and it's a lot to do with that interest differential, that inflation differential between us and the US. We're not the only country, by the way, and as I pointed out in another place, Mexico, who competes with us in tourism, 14% devaluation last year.
14.
Brazil, 30-something%.
Yes.
Right? Even the UK devalued by nearly 6%. So it's not just Jamaica. All countries are realigning their currency to stay competitive.
It's a part of the market mechanism.
Correct.
It's how the market operates. It has been a most interesting interview. The chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee that looks at IMF programs, Sir Richard Biles, has spent a fascinating 15 minutes with us. We thank you for your company. Next week we'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.
Nobody want to plant the corn. Everybody want to read the band. Who you are go blame it on when it's a next man you are deep in pan. Well, you're wrong.
Farmers, let us be serious about predial larceny. It is affecting all of us. If you are aware of incidents of predial larceny, make contact with your local police station or call Crime Stop at 311. Predial larceny is everybody's business.
We don't want you to think that discussions on the economy have nothing to do with you. Discussions about NIR, fiscal balance, and those other economic markers impact on you and are impacted by you. Just take a look at one of the fastest growing areas of Jamaica's economic portfolio, the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Consider the 2015 stock market reports for developed countries. Securities on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States, those in London, Zurich, Hong Kong, Japan, and Paris, just to name a few.
The Dow is down, the S&P 500 is down, London is down, CAC 40 in Paris is down, Zurich is down, Hang Seng in Hong Kong is down, Nikkei in Japan is down.
But
Jamaica is up.
as evidenced by this headline from the reputable financial and media company Bloomberg, yes, the Jamaica Stock Exchange was the best performer in the world in 2015, growing by over 90%. The over 90% growth of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSE, in 2015 was not coincidental. It was the result of hard work by the government and several stakeholders under Jamaica's economic reform program.
There are several factors. The macroeconomic condition, the stable macroeconomic conditions, the fact that interest rate has fallen, and so investors are looking at other options for investment.
It is due to an improvement in investor confidence, both local and international investor confidence, which comes on the back of the country's successful navigation of 10 consecutive IMF performance reviews.
Passing the quarterly tests by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is not only about quantitative targets like meeting the primary surplus target. It is also about structural benchmarks, changes to the way in which the country carries out aspects of its operations, for example, things that improve the way business is conducted. Point of information: Jamaica was ranked in the top 10 most improved economies in the world on the World Bank's Doing Business Report 2016. On top of that, the economy grew in 2015, recording 1.5% in the September quarter.
That has had a positive impact on corporate earnings. So most of the companies, listed companies, have been making more profits, they have been paying more dividends, and that has led to an increase in demand for those stocks, and that is what has driven up stock prices. The stock market is a leading indicator. It tells you where the economy is going. So because of the skillful management of the economy by Dr. Peter Phillips and his team, the stock market is on the up, in contrast to what is happening globally.
When you look at the exchange also, we have constantly provided a fair and efficient stock market. And by that I mean that it is stable, it is well regulated. So when you put all those factors together, persons have now seen the advantage of coming back to market.
The JSE also launched its online trading platform in May 2015 to allow persons to buy and sell securities via the internet, targeting investors both locally and overseas.
Well, it is still new, and so the broker members who are involved in it are courting persons to trade online, and we have seen within 2015 that we had over 1 million transactions across the market. While it is not a large amount, this is how markets work. It takes time for persons to come on board.
So let's make the link. Changes in Jamaica under the economic reform program have led to a number of positive things, including the buoyancy of Jamaica's stock market. But how does the positive gains of the stock market affect me and you, the average man on the street? Well, for one, companies will invest more to expand and grow their businesses. They will then be able to employ more people and possibly reduce the cost of production.
It also extends to the normal man on the road in terms of what is the price of that product, what are they able to sell those products for. So the competition, they are more competitive to foreign goods and services.
Plus,
when you look at the companies that are listed on the exchange, 75 to 80% of the corporate tax that the government gets is earned from the companies that are listed.
And with more revenue, government will be better able to provide critical services such as healthcare, education, and improving infrastructure.
What we see in 2016 is accelerated economic growth, and we see the stock market playing a very important role as a vehicle in that acceleration. Dr. Peter Phillips, the finance minister, has already indicated that a number of government entities will be packaged and divested on the stock exchange.
One, it will be a boost for the market. Two, it's very important that the government looks at privatization through the exchange, because what it does is offer more Jamaicans a stake in Jamaica.
Also in 2016, 9 additional securities are expected to be listed on the JSE.
6 from the junior market and 3 from the main market.
And ordinary Jamaicans need to take advantage of the booming stock market, buy some stocks, diversify investment portfolios.
We want more people in the Jamaican economy, more of the ordinary people, to play the market. And you know, it's a long-term investment, so it can be used as part of your pension payments. It can be used for long-term goals such as buying a house. It can be used for long-term goals such as in educating your children. You can sell back your stocks on the market, so it also provides liquidity, capital appreciation, and dividend payment.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, the best performing stock market in the world in 2015, recording over 90% growth. And by all indications, it will help to accelerate Jamaica's economic growth in 2016.
All the people them with a Zig V, hold up your hand. Zig V in the Caribbean territory, but we now want that virus take set pan we. So make sure send no stagnant water inside and mash up all mosquito breed inside. More hole in the tin them where you dash way and change the water in your vase every day. No litter, dispose of your garbage proper. You know them the thing they we turn drain blacker. Tour your community and tour your yard for suppress mosquito. We have figure hard dash we all tire turn over drum pan for prevention is the greatest weapon. And special shout out to pregnant ladies, protect yourselves and protect your babies. Draw for your zapper and your mosquito spray. If we do all that we can to keep them away. How we now was in vain.
There's a peace in my soul when I'm with you. There's a peace in my soul when my spirit is in tune. You're my master and I, not a slave to sin anymore. There's a peace running deep in my soul. In your will, that's my strength when I'm with you. And I'm sorry, I just can't walk the way I used to. Say the things I used to do, I just cannot do them no more. There's a peace running deep in my soul.
Our final message for you today: success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Words of businessman Jim Ron. For more information on the Economic Program Oversight Committee or other issues featured on today's show, click on our website, jis.gov.jm. We're also on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, so log on and stay in the know. February starts tomorrow. Have a great week. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Pleasant viewing.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.